started this process and people were skeptical about locations, and we heard today there's 9 or maybe 10 locations on the table. So no lack of locations, lots of demand. We think it's really viable for tourism and viable for local. Everybody wins if we're on the Strip. There's a lot of positives to that.
Do you think it matters to the Raiders?
I think it does. Yeah, I do.
Want to be on the Strip
I
as
do.
well?
Yes, there's value in being on the Strip.
First is to assess all of the sites, get them all identified. Anybody that's got something that they think makes sense in the resort corridor, let's get them on a map. Let's match them up against sort of the program that we need, a physical program for the project, and then start eliminating sites that disqualify immediately because of size or scope. Get into the parking, get into ingress, egress, and then finally FAA. And then to Chairman Sisolak's point, let's study the ability to create a TIF district around that, mush through all of that, and come out at the end of August, early September with a narrowed down site list. We'd like by mid-September, I think, to be able to get this down to 2 sites and then possibly run 2 sites parallel through the entire process until we get NFL approval.
Everything is flexible at this point. The site's flexible, the amount's flexible. I know the developers want a contribution of $750 million, but you saw today that their real numbers when you kind of came up with it, and I think they kind of lowball the figures coming in at 1.4 when they're looking at anywhere from 1.75 to 2.1 billion. That's a big difference in terms of what the public contribution actually would be. I'm a firm believer that if it can spur economic development, that's extremely important. If it's going to benefit the community in several ways, one, by increasing the number of jobs and employment here, which in my opinion is the biggest thing we can do in government, in the public sector, is to help the private sector create jobs. And it's not taking current tax money. If you're going to increase the amount of money coming in, for example, make it simple, if you're going to get an extra $100 in tax revenue coming in as a result of the stadium being built, and you're going to use a portion of that $100 to pay for the stadium, then it's a positive, because ultimately the government is getting more money to provide services, not less money. It's an opportunity that doesn't come along all the time, and I think that maybe some members don't agree how seldom it does come along because they're not maybe as big as sports fans as others might be. But there aren't many teams that move in the NFL. I mean, there's not many chances that we're going to have. And if this doesn't happen, I don't know when somebody else is going to consider Las Vegas again. I mean, Bill Foley did us a huge favor when he brought professional sports here. He brought NHL hockey. And I think that broke the glass ceiling. And I think this is an opportunity for us to land another professional sports franchise. I think the residents want it. I think if we can make it work, it's a positive. If we can't make it work because the numbers are just too big, or that's another story. But I think we owe it to everybody to do our utmost to make that happen.